Our next candidate is Ron Paul.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 10-term Congressman from Texas and candidate for President of the United States, Dr. Ron Paul.
Thank you very much for that very nice reception. I'm delighted to be here. I want to first compliment the party of Texas, the Republican Party, for its platform, because I believe the Texas platform is the best in the country. It's been written because it recognizes the importance of individual liberty as well as the Constitution, and therefore it is a grand document. Unfortunately, in Washington, we don't follow our platform here, and I wish we would. Now, you know, in a campaign, we put out a lot of literature, but, you know, my platform is not very complicated because it's found in a little booklet. It's right here, and it's called The Constitution of the United States. There's a lot of problems that we have to deal with in this country today because we have drifted from the Constitution and what was intended by the founders in this country. We have drifted both in foreign policy and in domestic policy. We have become a party of big government, and we need to go back to the principles that were founded in the Constitution and in the earlier Republican days, when the old days when we used to say, get rid of the Department of Education. One thing that has concerned me a lot in these recent years has been the loss of our sovereignty in this country. And it's not this administration or the previous administration. It has continued for 50, 60, 70 years. And it is for that reason that I have continuously introduced the resolution and proposed that it is time that we talk about getting out of the United Nations. Sovereignty, we would do a lot better job protecting our borders. We unfortunately think too much of borders around the world and we forget about our own. Why is it that we're sending border guards to Iraq and forgetting about our own borders here? I say bring the border guards home. Not only do we have to contend with the United Nations and the WTO and the World Bank and the IMF and NAFTA and CAFTA, now they're working on the North American Union. I say no to the North American Union. You know, immigration is a big problem. It's top of the list, I guess second to the war, that the American people are concerned about. But you know, there's an old saying that goes that if you subsidize something, you get more of it. And unfortunately, that's what we have been doing for many, many decades. We have been subsidizing illegal immigration, so we shouldn't be surprised that we're getting it. My suggestion is this: quit subsidizing. No more forced mandates on the states to provide free medical care and free education for everybody. There's another thing that we have to deal with very precisely. With the promise of amnesty, which seems to come back continuously, yes, they will come and they will bring their families and they will accept the notion because it's ingrained in our system, which I challenge, and that is birthright citizenship. There's no logic to that, so I think we have to get rid of that principle. But you know, we have a financial crisis in this country as well, and it's appearing daily in the news. We're in the midst of a collapsing housing bubble. And people wonder, well, what are we going to do about it? And they suggest two things. There's two things that are supposed to solve the collapsing of this bubble. And that is allowing our Federal Reserve to print more and more money, which only undermines the value of the dollar. And the other thing is to appropriate more money to bail out these companies that overextended themselves and enticed so many people into buying these mortgages. The ultimate solution to this, of course, is to really study and understand what the founders understood about money. And they certainly did not endorse the principle of a central bank, and therefore we have to challenge the whole system of the central bank and the Federal Reserve system. You know, we have a major problem in this country, demonstrated recently by the bridge collapse in Minnesota, that our infrastructure is in trouble. And the federal government has been probably at times needlessly in some of this, but it's traditionally they've been a bit involved. But our infrastructure is in shambles. But you know what? If you came to my office today and asked for a bridge in Iraq, you're more likely to get it than to have a bridge in this country. We ought to look at our infrastructure here first. We are now spending, we, the taxpayers, are now spending $1 billion on an embassy bigger than the Vatican in Iraq, in Baghdad. That's a missed expenditure of money. We don't have the money. We can't even afford the war, nor our entitlements, without borrowing nearly $3 billion a day, most of the money coming from China. Something has to be done to shake up that system because it cannot be maintained. It's not an accident that our good jobs go overseas, because our major exporter are dollars. We have a benefit by printing the world's currency, and therefore it's a lot easier to print money than go to work. We need monetary reform, we need tax reform, we need regulatory reform. We need to make it conducive so business people will stay here in this country, but the laws and the regulations and the tax system actually encourages this newfound goal of globalism, which we have to revert and take care of ourselves and our people here at home. One of the major issues of our day is how we deal with terrorism. And first we have to understand why terrorism occurs, and believe me, there is a clear understanding. And terrorists do not come here because they think you have too much freedom. That is not the reason. It's much more complicated than that. But it is not a problem of so easily settled by invading another country, because the terrorists are stateless. Osama bin Laden is a participant in this, and he is the ringleader. And yet he used to be, under our foreign policy, he used to be one of our allies. After 9/11, I voted for the authority to go after Osama bin Laden, which takes some effort, because I actually voted for the funding to do that. But unfortunately, we haven't done a very good job. He's hiding out in one of our allied countries in Pakistan. I have introduced a bill right after 9/11, and I've reintroduced it, to reorient the American people to something the founders understood. Because they dealt with something in a similar manner. They had stateless pirates attacking our ships on the sea. But we never declared war. We didn't invade a country. What they used was what's called in the Constitution a letter of marque and reprisal, where you have individuals target the person that we're after. And believe me, that would be a lot easier way to go. When you think about that and you find out the way this would work is, just remember in the 70s when Ross Perot had a problem. A lot of his employees got stuck over in Iran. Compare that to what happened when we tried to rescue our own people in Iran. That was a total failure. But when Ross Perot went in there, he got them all out and all safely. That's the principle of the letter of marque and reprisal, to target the person and the people and the incident that we have to deal with. But to say that we have to declare war on the world and invade countries, believe me, that does not make us any safer. Matter of fact, I believe it makes us a lot less safe.